The first fracture we're gonna treat will be a very common fracture, a radius ulnar fracture. Yeah? And before really to go into detail, I want to start with some very, let's say, fundamental things of orthopedic surgery. So all the time when you get a fracture, it's a lot about is to do the right planning that you can then redo the right execution as well. So important is that you really get radiographs, orthogonal radiographs, not only of the fractured leg, but also on the non-diseased leg. Yeah? Reason behind is that you can very nicely already make the implant choice in regards of the length. You can pre-bend your plates, and you have a very good idea what we'll do then when you're actually in surgery. The next thing I would like to talk, because today we will focus on plates, fixing fractures with plates. There we have three main fracture figurations where we will apply certain type of plates. It's not in there. If we go to it's a very principle, let's say, drawing and make the first type of a fracture, which is a transverse fracture. Yeah. The first thing when I see a fracture or a radiograph with a fracture, I want to decide, can I reconstruct the fracture? So everybody raise their hands who thinks we can reconstruct the transverse fracture. Yeah, everybody, exactly. So we can put these two things together and we can fix it with a plate, yeah, with screws. And what we do in a reconstructible transverse fracture is that we even compress the fracture, and then we can achieve a primary bone healing. Yeah? So this is a compression plate. And you will hear more about it through the day. Yeah? The next type I would like to show you is when we have a fracture configuration which we can reconstruct but can't compress. And an example for this would be typically sometimes when we have these butterfly fragments. So what we can do here is we can either with a screw, yeah, we can take two screws, we can achieve a load sharing of the bone and then apply a plate, again with screws. And anybody has an idea how this is called then? Neutralization. Exactly. This is a neutralization plate, which means we will not get a compression, but we still have load sharing of the bone and load sharing of the plate. Yeah? So it's neutralization. Right? And the third thing, it's always three with surgeons because it's easy to remember. 4 or 5 will be difficult. We have a fracture which we cannot reconstruct. Yeah. Okay, which is comminuted fracture. Anybody has an idea how now our reconstruction is called? Exactly. This is now a bridging plate. This is now a bridging plate, and when we look, the load will be shared now, goes here over the plate, so the plate has to withstand all the forces, yeah? So there will be absolutely no support by the bone. Yeah? So this is how the forces are transmitted, yeah? Which makes like a huge difference to the first two indications. So bridging plate, and here we'll have primary bone healing, which means we will absolutely, in the ideal case, we will not see any callus formation. Where do you think we want to achieve primary bone healing, where it is super important to have primary bone healing.
Interarticular.
Exactly. Why?
Because you don't want to have big callus in the joint.
Exactly, because it will lead to arthritis, degenerative joint disease. So we want to achieve a primary bone healing, and with these two we will have secondary bone healing, which means we will have a callus formation. Yeah? Callus formation is not bad, absolutely not. Yeah? As long as it's in the long bones and it's extra-articular. Good.